The Fabrics released on Netflix on December 23rd, 2022. The show was not that popular in terms of ratings or viewership, but I personally was looking forward to this show. Now, this show only had 8 episodes, so I was a bit disappointed, but in the end, the show was decent enough to where I wanted to watch it. The show gets a lot of hate because people say the story was too basic or is too predictable. In my opinion, it was a decent enough show as it was fresh and the concept was welcoming. Alright, I'm going to first start off with the characters of the show and then move on to the plot section, and finally, finish it off with my review of the show. This will be a shorter video than my previous one as the show had less episodes and less things in general to talk about. Let's begin. The main female lead we have is Ji-yoon. Ji-yoon is a public relations manager at the brand Audrey. She is Woman's old girlfriend and she is currently dating Nam-hee. I liked what they did with this character in the show as she was an independent woman that did not need no man to help her achieve success. The main male lead is Woomin. Woomin is in the photography field and he's a part-timer when introduced to us. He's a freelance retoucher. That basically means is he edits the photos to make it look the best it can. Woomin is Ji-yoon's old boyfriend. This was one of my favorite characters in the show as he was portrayed to us as a gentleman and working man. Moving on to some supporting characters, we have Joseph. Joseph is a fashion designer and he owns his self-named brand Joseph. He's best friends with Woomin, Ji-yoon, and Sono. All 4 of them do everything together. It's portrayed to us as a great friendship that lasts throughout the show. Next, we have Sonu. Sonu is a famous supermodel around the world. She's a woman who loves herself and does not take disrespect towards her or any other of her friends lightly. This was another great character as this show revolved around the fashion world, so you had to have a supermodel in this show. It really showed us how brutal the fashion industry really can be. Next is Doyoung. Doyoung is a college student and he dreams of one day becoming a model in Korea. He befriends Woomin as he later moves in with them to start up his modeling dreams. He also develops a crush on Ji-yoon when she comes to the restaurant he works at. Doyoung was one of my favorite characters in the show as he always had great and funny scenes whenever he was in the episodes. After that, we have Nam-hee. Nam-hee is a fashion magazine editor for Revlani. He's the one Ji-yoon dates in parts of his show. He really was a nice guy except for the part when he dumped Ji-yoon because he didn't think they had anything in common. Outside of that, he was a great character that I definitely hated early on in the show, but I grew to like as the show progressed. Miss Oh was Ji-yoon's boss, and she is a representative of the Audrey brand. I'm not too sure what her role actually was in the company. I want to say that she was either a PR person or one of the people on the board of the company. She had a funny relationship with Jisun and JD. These characters both go hand in hand as you have Jisun, who is a fashion stylist for JD. JD is a super famous idol star around the world. She's portrayed to us as this untouchable person in the fashion/music industry. Jisun is very rude to the people because people know her as a fashion stylist for JD. JD, on the other hand, is usually rude to Jisun. The second to last supporting character we have is Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry is a very famous person around the world because he's the chief designer of the luxury brand Airlane. Not much to say about this one as he was only featured in a handful of episodes. The last character we have is Esther. She is Joseph's assistant and what looks like his only employee. She has been with Joseph from the start and she is a really smart assistant and gets the job done. Those were a lot of characters to go through, but now I'm going to be moving on to the plot of the show. So there's not much to really talk about for this plot. There's another simple and easy to follow plot. The main plot goes as follows. This is a story about 4 people who have devoted their lives to the fashion industry. They are all somehow connected to the fashion world. Woman is basically trying to get Ji-yoon back. What I mean by that is they used to date back in college for 3 years, but they ultimately split up. The whole main story is about them too. Ji-yoon ends up early in the show dating the CEO of Revlani, Nam-hee. Nam-hee dumps her as he thinks they don't have anything in common. Later on in the show, when Woomin comes to ask Ji-yoon to be boyfriend-girlfriend again, she declines, as we get a flashback to Nam-hee asking her out again. The reasoning behind him wanting to get back together was because he was testing her and because he liked that she was an independent woman. So, they get back together and Woomin is heartbroken. They don't talk to each other for a little while, but the 2 friends get them to talk it out and they end up on speaking terms again. Later on, Ji-yoon this time breaks up with Nam-hee, and this is because she feels the same way as Woomin about her. In episode 6, Woomin prepares photo collage at their old hideout spot of all the great memories they had during those college days. After seeing this, she runs to Woomin's house and hugs him. This is how they get back together. It was a great romance story. I do feel kind of bad for Nam-hee though because he did try his best to win her over, but in the end, Woomin prevailed, which I'm not mad about. Moving on to some side plots. There were a couple of side plots happening in the show, but the one I liked the most was the story of Doyoung. His story was interesting as he was first introduced to us when Nam-hee and Ji-yoon were at this restaurant. He was their waiter and he was hitting on her. At first, I thought he was just going to be a filler character in the show because he kept hitting on Ji-yoon, but I was wrong. He was one of the reasons that Woomin and Ji-yoon got back together as he showed her the photo album that Woomin made with all their photos. Doyoung starts living with Woomin later on in the show and he auditions to become an actor for Joseph, I believe. He later on achieves his dream of becoming a model. great little storyline as he didn't give up on his dreams and became a model. This next one is about Joseph. He owns his own fashion brand and he's trying to make it big. He knows people in the industry, but they don't quite respect him yet. One day, someone named Thierry Henry enters his pop-up shop and he loves the purse that Joseph made, so much so that he recommended Joseph to be the creative director of the brand. This comes as a huge shock to everyone. Everyone around him is happy for him, but Joseph is not, as he says he would have to move to Paris for the new job. This would mean he would have to leave all of his friends and family behind. Ultimately, they talk to the brand and they agree to let him work from South Korea. This was another well-written storyline, as Joseph was just as pushover in the fashion industry once upon a time. But it shows that if you know the right person, then your brand will eventually make it big with some type of luck. The last storyline we have is the one of Sonwoo. Sonwoo is a supermodel in the fashion world and she has earned a lot of fame and respect in the industry. One day she is getting ready to walk on the runway as all the girls are talking about how she didn't earn her spot. What they're alluding to here is that she was sleeping with the boss to get a spot. Sonwoo then confronts Hina and they begin to fight. It's eventually broken up and the boss sends Sonwoo home as she is the only one that is visibly injured. Later on in the show, Hina is confronted by a woman who picks a fight with her, but Sonwoo acts quickly as she saves her from this bully. They become friends, and after this, Hina later on in the show tells her that she is her role model and a lot of young girls look up to her. Moving on with the story, she later on in the show becomes a little unsure of herself and what she wants to do with her life. She's already been a model for a very long time and she feels like she could switch it up. We see her not go to any type of events for the next little while, but when Jiyoon needs her the most during her opening of the brand Diana doing an exhibit, she shows up. In the end of the show, Sonwoo walks down the ramp for the opening of Airlane J, as she is the last one and she is the showstopper. Overall, the story was nothing over the top. I really liked how they turned a bully to friend in the show. It shows how people should handle themselves when there are bullies out there. Finally, for my review of the show. Now, I've noticed that the show doesn't have the best reviews on IMDb. It was only given a 6.5. I can honestly see why. The show didn't really offer much in terms of hitting the right spots. Now, what I mean by that is, I kinda just wanted to get through the show as quickly as possible, instead of actually enjoying the show. I'm not saying that I didn't like it, it's just it wasn't all that great. There are a couple of high spots for this show though. The main cast women and Jiyoon were both pretty solid. I felt like the chemistry was alright between the two actors. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. Another thing I wanted to touch on was I felt like the show could have been better if it had more episodes. I feel like in shows that have 8 or 12 episodes, and especially 8, the show has to rush and make everything happen quickly instead of easing into it like typical rom-coms or K-dramas. Now, what I mean by that is, in episode 6, the main couple of the show got back together. I would have liked to see them get back together near the end of the show, either that be episode 7 or 8. I will be uploading a video in the near future about why I think 16 episode K-dramas reign supreme over 8 and 12 episode K-dramas, and etc. I was really excited to watch this show as I first got introduced to it after finding it on the Swoon YouTube channel. I waited for the show, and after finishing it, I was a little disappointed. Now the main reason might just be because it's an 8 episode show, but I also think it's because of the story as well. The story felt alright, but I thought it was missing something. It was missing a twist. Now you all know what I'm talking about. It's not a K-drama without a twist. The twist to me came early on in the show. If you watch the show, then you know what I'm talking about. It was when we were introduced to Jiyoon's boyfriend, the CEO of Rublani. That in my mind was his twist, but it was too early on. I see now what the concept of the story was. It was Jiyoon's old boyfriend trying to get her back and her new boyfriend trying to keep her and win her over. Ultimately, Woman and Jiyoon get back together. If you watch my last review on this channel about True Beauty, you know the main story, at least is very similar in the sense that in both shows, there's a love triangle going on. By the way, if you haven't watched my review on True Beauty, please go watch it. It took me a very long time to make that video, and I would appreciate it if you watched that video. I'm sorry I'm being so negative in this review. I just didn't really like the show too much, and I've explained why. The thing I will say is that I really like the cast. I had never seen these actors before in the K-drama world, and it opened my eyes to them. I would definitely follow them to know when they will be releasing their next shows. Lastly, I wanted to touch a little bit on the soundtrack. The soundtrack to me was mediocre. It only had 6 tracks, and 2 of them were a female version of a song. I only really liked Run, the female version, and Balloon. I believe Balloon was a track they played a lot in this show. That was why I liked it so much. Overall, the show was not the best I've watched in memory, but maybe in the future, we might get a better story of the show. I know that's a stretch, but that's what I'm hoping for. For my next review, I'm looking at reviewing Vincenzo. I know it's an old show, but I have not watched that show yet. And I know it's not the usual rom-com I've uploaded so far on this channel, but I don't just want to focus on this channel. If that is something you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments below. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this review, and I'll see you all in the next one.